Hello, this is Malorian, and what this video is going to be about is nothing so, fun or jovial. It's actually something a little bit more serious. And this is more talking about the comments that I had on my Bretonnians versus Dark Elf battle report. Now, when I put that out, I really thought I'd be getting a lot of stuff talking about the changes I made to the formats and talking about Bretonnians and my all-night list. But I got a lot of stuff talking about my opponent. And this is something that I used to have years ago, and I haven't had it for a long time, so I thought I'd bring it up again. Now, just to kind of quickly recap, he was a guy that he played a lot in 7th. This is his first game of 8th, and for what I saw, it was a good game overall. But I got a lot of things about, like, oh, you're picking on all the weak guys. Look at his crappy list. Why are you going after all the crappy players and all these things? And it's, first of all, how about I talk about how I justify and how I kind of went into this. And at the end, I'll talk about how this can be a little bit damaging. And we have to be careful about some of the things that we write as comments to some of this stuff. And yeah, let's just start from there. So the first thing is, as part of the campaign, is one of the toughest things with these campaigns where we're in different spots is there's no real control on who you're going to play. I mean, it's really easy if it's a round robin and we're all going to be playing against each other, but in this thing where we're all in our own hometowns and we're in different countries for the most part too, for me versus the other two guys, the big thing there is that, of course, it's just whoever we can play, that's who we play. So in my part, I mean, it looked like I was going to play against a double slan list. It didn't come through. So guess what? This is the one I had because, for that week, I was going to have this one. I was going to have my camping game with Borgnine, and then a large battle I'm going to be having on Saturday. So really, this is going to be it before we're going to be touching on this stuff. Now, going into it, I run a lot of demo games, whether it be for War Machine or Fantasy or 40K, and I don't even post these up because the demo games, they're not really that interesting. Now, in this part here, though, I didn't see this as a demo game. I was very clear with my opponents, like, you know the rules, right? Like, I know you haven't played 8th so far, but you know the rules, right? And he was very certain that, yes, I know the rules. He's read through them several times. He's just more of a War Machine guy. He's a guy that actually plays War Machine quite a bit. And he also watches my battle reports, so he also knows, even though he's experienced in 7th, now he gets to come and play here, and he kind of knows what's going on. Now, another thing with this is during the game, it's very obvious that that was correct because he didn't really make any 8th edition mistakes. It's not like he didn't really know what was going on, blah, blah, blah. The only thing over the entire game I had to remind the guy about was that he had to channel. Like, oh, don't forget to channel dice. Okay, great. Yeah, I forgot about that. Otherwise, everything was a piece of cake and very straightforward. He knew all this stuff. Now, another big part of this is the way that our books work. I mean, I'm playing Bretonnians. My Bretonnians I'm playing right now is the same Bretonnians he played back when he played 7th. It's the same book. Of course, I probably play all nights, and he probably played against ones that are a little bit more mixed, but that's really it. There's going to be no surprises that way. Meanwhile, it's his Dark Elves, right? He's used to the book. He knows the book and all that stuff. Fantastic. So as far as playing somebody like, oh, you play against some new guy, well, he was still experienced. He still knew his stuff, and I can't see any difference. I mean, what's worse, playing against somebody that's mainly due to 7th, this is for first 8th game, or playing against somebody who's played 100 8th games, but he's just a tactical moron, right? Like, you want to find somebody that's a good game, and I figured this would be a good game. And if it wouldn't have turned out to be one, I wouldn't have made a battle report. I would have found some way to force another game out there, but I felt this one was a good game. Now, another thing we talked about here was, what about his list? Oh, he had a crappy list. Well, I never said he had a 7th edition list. I said he had his 7th edition models, which the way the Dark Elves works very well going into 8th. And that's because they can use their small units because of how they can dominate the magic phase and how they can say, like, well, I got this little unit of this, boom, they have Mind Razor, off they go. And you can also see this in the list because it wasn't like there was just little units of 15 or 20 like you'd see going away around over in 7th. It was more the larger ones you would see in 8th. Again, not the hordes, but that's because this is more of a Mind Razor list, I'd be calling it. So let's just kind of, and I guess another thing to talk about is going into this game, he did not build it to fight Bretonnians. But let's just kind of go through the list right now. I have his exact list, and I'm just going to go and kind of like defend it and show how this thing is supposed to be working, and that it's not just like a random stuff thrown together. Although there's probably one unit that is. So the first thing he has is level 4 with the Black Dragon Egg and the Sacrificial Dagger. Really, if you turn that egg into the Dispel Scroll, that's completely normal. You know, you got your level 4 of Shadow. It's doing all its crazy stuff, stabbing stuff, doing spells. That's normal. Now, this person has gone more with the Black Dragon Egg instead of the Scroll. You know, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they did know I'm doing Bretonnians. I had announced I'm going to be doing no magic. Maybe that's why there's no magic defense in there. But again, you know, the Black Dragon Egg, maybe it was kind of more a defensive item. But okay, that's a small little thing there. Then he had a Sorceress, level 2, with a Tomb of Furion for a level 3 with a Dark Elf magic. Not a bad thing to take. With an army that really dominates the magic phase, this isn't really that bad of a thing to have. Then he has a Master. Now this Master had heavy armor, a shield, sea dragon cloak, a dark steed, pennant, and dragon helm, yikes, biting blade. Now, the normal build you see is the one on the Dark Pegasus, but for the most part, does it really matter if it's on a Dark Pegasus or a steed? Yes, you have a little bit of extra movement, you can fly over things, you have +1 wound, but in this case, did it matter whatsoever? You're going out there, and like you said, like when I talked to him about this guy, he's there to tie up monsters, and whether he's on a Dark Pegasus or he's on a steed, odds are the wound's not going to matter because you're not going to kill him. And the main thing is that you're not on foot, so you can't be thunderstomped. So this guy has his purpose. And then past that, he has his Hag, BSB on a Cauldron. This is a normal 8th ed thing to take. You got your tons of stuff here. You get the +1 attack. You get the killing blow. All nice things to have. He has his 25 spears with full command and banner of discipline. They're more like the stab guys to kill. He has his 20 crossbowmen that had a champ and musician. Champ is there obviously because the level 2 is in there. And man, I mean, this is a good unit. Again, you always see this in 8th. And I guess one of the things that didn't come across in the battle report is that these guys were peppering me. Between these guys and the Shades, is just shooting my guys up. But the big thing is like, hey, if I have to take 10 saves, and they're armor piercing, so that brings me down to a 3+ armor, and I'm rolling these dice, and I'm just failing 1. You know, I was rocking my armor saves. I had no ward save. These were just armor saves. But if I passed them, that's just the way it went. So there's a little bit of luck that's going on there. He had his 21 Corsairs with full command and frenzy banner. You know, lots of attacks. Perfect unit to be putting on Mind Razor or the Killing Blow or any of that stuff. 10 Corsairs with repeater handbows. Alright, this is probably one unit where it would have been better turning into the Harpies or something like that. But at the same time, with my units of the 5 Knights, I can go and kill off the Harpies, and I can do my own redirection. That's why I like the unit of the 5 Knights, is because they'll take out whatever chaff you have, and you can't just shoot them off either. So really, that is one part where I'll say that's he took that because that's the models he had. But again, I mean, that's one minor thing. And really, if you look at the games other people have, we're not playing against the tournament winning guys, right? We're playing against whoever we can get games against. So anything that's slightly off ultra competitive, that should be the norm. Then we have 5 Dark Riders with Musician and Crossbows. Again, a great unit to have. Baiting me, shooting me, all that fun stuff. Then he took an Assassin with extra hand weapon, rending, stars, and manbane. And in especially in meta now with all the monsters, great thing to take. I would not say that's a bad thing to have in the current meta. Then he has a 5 Shades with extra hand weapons, great for war machines, great for picking things off if they're shooting. And then the 20 Blackguard, and the champ had the Crimson Death, and he also had the Banner of Murder. Like, I was -2 armor save from these guys. Like, they were really deadly, even against my Knights. Then he had a Hydra, and again, sure, he didn't have 2 Hydras, but, you know, where are you going to take those points from? Sure, maybe you could take that from the Corsairs or something, but where would your Harpy points come from if we're going to make that argument? Maybe you could have had another Hydra instead of the level 2. Maybe, you know, all these things are possible. But overall, the big thing I want to talk about here is just the fact that he was a strong player with a reasonable list for 8th. Now, here's the real problem with blasting guys like this. And I totally understand where this is coming from, because this is a competition. It's Malorian versus Once Bitten versus Anthony from the Sustainable Center. If you're a person that favors one channel over the other, you're going to be kind of nitpicking against the other ones. I know when I saw the other videos, I was like, oh, you're so lucky this happened. Oh, you're so lucky with that. You know, because of course the competition thing, although I'd love to see my buddies doing great, I also want to kind of see them mess up so I can pull ahead, right? And I can understand that there'll be that little bit of nitpicking here. But the big thing to kind of worry about is that the person that I did the battle with, he's also watching this. And so if you're going on there and you're like, oh, look at this crap list, look at this garbage, he's embarrassing Dark Elves. You know, I'm trying to get this guy into fantasy more again and back up from just doing War Machine, and that isn't really helping. And the thing is, at the end of the day, if I wouldn't have told you this was his first game of 8th, I don't think you would have known. I mean, he did fairly well. The big thing that I say that was the biggest factor in that game had nothing to do that it was his first game of 8th. It was all about the dice. Like I said, all of his shooting, I kept on making my armor saves. When it came to magic, he just shit the bed. You know, he miscast, lost it before he even got to cast his Mind Razor once. He went down to level 2 and forgot that spell. So that was massive. There were multiple times where, you know, he just like failed to cast because you rolled double 1s or something, or when he cast something, I'd throw 2 dice and get double 6s. That happened more than once. And so it was really the dice that controlled that game, as opposed to, you know, like, oh yeah, I mean, like, he's just a new guy, you just picked on the new. That had nothing to do with it. So I guess all that being said, I'm a person who's trying to really improve my battle reports, and I want criticisms. I really want to have this stuff. What I'd really like to have, though, is that if it could be more aimed at something that I'm doing with the report and not my opponents. The main thing that I'm really, I mean, it's not a thing where I just have to defend my honor and all this. It's really a thing where, let's go back, I think it was about 5 years ago, people were pretty bad for this. I would play against people, and it seemed that because I was trying to be at that upper, you know, competitive level, if I wasn't playing the absolute best people with the best list, it was like, oh, that's garbage. This person was so stupid. Why'd he do this? Why was this in his list? That's so dumb. And I got to a spot where people didn't even want to play against me because they didn't want to be ridiculed on the internet. So, you know, if it's a thing where, like, you know what, hey, you know, I'm a Dark Elf pro, and I want to talk to this guy and help him with his list and help him adapt it more to either 8th or beat a Malorian or whatever, that's great. You know, PM me, I can send you his contacts, and that's great. But I just really want to really just say, you know, like, thanks for the feedback, but just, if I see feedback, like, you know what, Malorian, your pictures are crap, you really need to paint your models, your sound quality really needs to improve, I got that. That's cool. But it's really watch the stuff of, hey, your opponent was an idiot and his list was complete garbage. Especially when it's really kind of like unfounded. So there you go. I'm sure this one will get a few negative downvotes as well. But this is something that I had to say. We're going to be having our video for the 1 week, our first game recap with, you know, myself, Once Bitten, and Anthony. And I'm sure I'm going to be razzing that stuff again. And if they go too deep, I might razz them on some stuff they have in their game too. But in the end, I don't want this to be about razzing competitiveness. You know, like, this is the Bretonnian Campaign. This is a fantastic thing that Once Bitten came up with. You guys, I don't know about you, but if you look around YouTube, you don't see many Bretonnian battle reports. And that's what this campaign's all about. It's not about, like, oh, well, like, who's really #1, who's the best Bretonnian player, and who has the best lists and all this stuff. No, it's about, let's do a Bretonnian campaign. Let's get a whole bunch of Bretonnian games out there, forcing different builds and different lists because of the different virtues. And really just like, hey, you want Bretonnian battle reports? Bam, there it is. Here's tons of them. So I'd rather if we try to kind of focus on that stuff, and we'll have a lot more fun. So there you have it, and we'll catch you this weekend for that YouTube hangout. So see you then. Bye.